All right, let's jump right into this explainer on real estate agency relationships. This is a massive foundational concept for your licensing exam, and honestly, it's the bedrock of everything you'll do in the field. Nailing this early on is going to make the rest of your exam prep feel like a breeze.
Quick heads up before we get into the weeds. This explainer is purely for educational prep support. We want to be crystal clear. We don't guarantee specific exam results or that these exact questions will pop up on your test. Real estate rules vary a ton, so always rely on your state's official licensing materials to cross-reference what we cover here today.
Here is our roadmap for today. We're looking at defining the core players, fiduciary duties and state nuances, the common pitfall of client versus customer, and finally, a practical application test and review. Let's get to it. Okay, Section 1, defining the core players. So what actually is an agency relationship? Basically, it's when one party, the agent, is authorized to act on behalf of another party, the principal. The absolute key phrase here is authorized to act. That's your anchor. The agent represents the principal. Let's unpack that, starting with the principal. The principal is simply the client being represented. Think about it like this. If a homeowner decides it's time to sell and they hire a listing agent, boom, that homeowner is the principal. They are the ones handing over the authority to someone else. Next up is the agent, which is the person authorized to represent the client. And what's kind of cool is how perfectly this works on both sides of the table. A seller's agent represents the seller, right? So the seller is the principal. On the flip side, a buyer's agent represents the buyer, making the buyer the principal. As the agent, you're the one doing the acting. Then we've got the broker. This is the licensed party actually responsible for the brokerage activity. So while you're out there hustling and representing your principals day to day, the broker is the overarching licensed party. They're the ones taking the ultimate responsibility for the whole shebang happening under their watch.
Moving right along to Section 2, fiduciary duties and state nuances.
Now, being an agent comes with some seriously heavy responsibility. Depending on the relationship, you might owe your principal a strict set of fiduciary duties. We're talking loyalty, obedience, disclosure, confidentiality, accounting, and reasonable care. These are huge professional obligations to put your client first. But, and this is a big but, the exact duties you owe will always depend on your specific state law and the exact type of relationship. Which brings us to a super important warning. Agency rules vary. They vary a lot. Concepts like dual agency, where you might represent both sides of a deal, or operating under transaction brokerage models, depend entirely on your state. Some states allow dual agency if it's fully disclosed, while others strictly forbid it. You literally have to check your state-specific materials to see how this plays out in your backyard. All right, Section 3, the common pitfall of client versus customer. Listen up, because this is the #1 mistake students make on the exam. Test writers absolutely love trying to trip you up on this exact distinction. A client, or principal, is actively represented by you. A customer, on the other hand, is not represented by you in that same way. Now, don't get it twisted. Just because they're a customer doesn't mean you can treat them poorly. Your state probably still requires you to treat them with complete honesty and fairness. But the bottom line, client equals represented, customer equals not represented. Let's bring it all together in Section 4, practical application, test and review. Let's see how you do with a quick practice question. In a real estate agency relationship, who is the principal? Is it A, the person being represented, B, the person inspecting the property, C, the lender, or D, the appraiser? Take a second, read those over carefully, and think back to the definitions we hit at the very start of this explainer. If you guessed A, you absolutely nailed it. The correct answer is A, the person being represented. The whole point here is that the principal is the client who actually authorizes the agent to act on their behalf. It's not the inspector, not the lender, and definitely not the appraiser. It's the person handing over the keys to the authority. When you're sitting in that exam room and all the legal jargon starts blurring together, just use this simple memory trick. Agent acts. Principal is represented. Seriously, if you can just remember who is doing the acting and who is receiving the representation, you can logic your way through pretty much any basic agency question they throw your way. So, we've nailed down the universal foundation of agency today. But as we wrap up this explainer, I want to leave you with this final, provocative thought. How exactly do these universal concepts apply in your specific state? Does your state even allow dual agency? What specific fiduciary duties are prioritized where you live? You absolutely need to know. Go check your local licensing rules to find out, and keep up the awesome momentum in your studies. Catch you on the next explainer.